and welcome to this series of 12 videos devoted to astrology, and more precisely a series of videos devoted to the presentation of the astronomic foundations of astrology. We are going to try to unite, or rather reunite, astrology and astronomy for the dual purpose of, one, better understanding the foundation of astrology, and also we're going to try to add some elements to enrich astrological interpretation by using a dynamic and live model of the sky. So first of all, I need to introduce a guest that will accompany us throughout these videos. So let me introduce the Armillary sphere. It is an extraordinary tool. I would even qualify it as indispensable in order to understand the position of the stars. So we are going to be working a lot with this tool, with the Armillary sphere. But before we go any further, I'd like us to ask ourselves a few questions. First of all, who am I? So who am I is one of the key questions that astrology tries to answer. It's a key question in astrology. So I'm going to start by introducing myself in a few words. I would say that I'm a mix of science and spirituality. I'm going to use an image that will probably make it simpler. Take a test tube, pour 50 centiliters of chemistry and biology, add 30 grams of beautiful big crystals, astrology crystals, astronomy and mythology crystals, and then bring all of this to the boil thanks to the heat of meditation. Okay, so that gives you a little idea of who I am. No, I mean, more seriously, I am a biochemical engineer. And in the last 20 years, I've studied a lot and I've practiced quite a few tools for self-knowledge and spirituality. Just to mention a couple, astrology and meditation. I try to use both of my cerebral hemispheres. The left brain is my scientific side, which leads me to wanting to understand how things work. I like to understand the basis on which reasoning is built. I like logical conclusions and sequences of ideas. That's my left brain. And of course the right brain, on my path to spirituality and self-knowledge, I've particularly acquired the mystery of the language of symbols. I've acquired the certainty that symbols give us access to reality beyond the senses. So, second question, who are you? So, what I mean by this is, who are these videos aimed at? So, I'm going to give you a few elements, but of course this isn't an exhaustive list. Don't stop the video if you don't recognize yourself here. My first aim is to speak to people who are curious about the rational basis behind astrology, the foundation of astrological logic. So, what it is all based on, what astrology is based on. That is one of my main aims. My second goal is also to speak to non-believers. You know, I like speaking to skeptics. You know, some people will say there's nothing scientific about astrology, or how can anyone believe this, nonsense in the 21st century? These are things that I heard even recently. In an astrology course, and the astronomy course was actually, saying that about astrology. This is also aimed at amateurs, people who are passionate, astrology professionals also, who will find in these videos, these very visual videos, because thanks to the Armillary sphere, you'll see what we do is very visual. So they'll find some very visual aspects that might, or hopefully will enrich their approach and their interpretation of the birth chart. Third question is, what is the aim of these videos? So that is, of course, an essential question. I've already said something about them, but the final goal might surprise you a little. Basically, what I'd like to do through these videos is to tell you a love story. Yes, absolutely. A love story that begun with union and completeness. A love story that is very fertile, that had its climax. And a love story that then went through terrible storms, until reaching a breakup. So I shall reveal all. I'd like to tell you the love story between astronomy and astrology. And also the aim of these videos is to hopefully consider a reconciliation, a happy end. That's my idea. So I'd like to say a few words about this love story. For 2,500 years, astrology and astronomy were very closely united. They stimulated one another, they fertilized one another. In order to understand the destiny of his people, sovereigns used to ask the astrologer to understand celestial movements, to observe and become an astronomer. So for 2,500 years, the astronomer was also an astrologer. And then shortly after the Renaissance, a breach appeared. In France, we can put a date on this breakup, 1666. Louis XIV's minister, Colbert, actually prohibited the study of astrology at the Academy of Science. So Colbert prohibited the study of astrology. It's as simple as that. Whereas since the Renaissance, astrology had been taught in universities, and universities had astrological medicine professors. And then overnight, in France anyhow, it's different in other countries, but in France, overnight, there was a breakup, a separation had occurred. Since the Renaissance, astrology and astronomy have gone their own sweet way, with contempt on behalf of the astronomer, I've already mentioned that, and scorn on the astrologer's side, and scorn, as I was saying, how could anyone be interested in all this nonsense? I mean, that is what astronomers sometimes say today. They can be sarcastic, critical, even virulent. And scorn or the astrologer even forgets about astronomy. And there are probably some astrologers who no longer look at the sky, who don't know the sky, who don't know the movements of the sky. So I think that, you often hear that we're disconnected from nature. Less often do you hear that we're disconnected from the sky, but with urbanization, light pollution, and our current lifestyles, I believe that it's a very interesting question to ask ourselves. Are we not disconnected from the sky? I think it's a very interesting question for an astrologer to ask himself. So you've understood the aim of these videos. The aim is to reunite this couple which split up, this astrology-astronomy couple, and in my opinion is probably up to the astrologist to take the first step. The goal of these videos is to show how, as an astrologer, it's in the interest of the astrologer to not scorn or forget about astronomy, because it can bring a lot of things, a lot of strength to our work and interpretation. It's my opinion anyway. So I'd like to say, for those who want to go further, take matters further, video number 12 of the series contains bibliographic and internet references that help me in this task. So to get better acquainted with our guest, I suggest we meet in video number 2, called the Armillary Sphere and Sky Chart. Thank you very much, and see you shortly.